Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is your Priya Physio, and today we are going to focus on judgment skills. This is the Essential Skills for Physio Leaders series where we are covering one skill every week, and this week is after the problem solving skills week. And I felt that once you know the basic of problem solving, understanding and following judgment skills will be easier. But before we proceed, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to Priya Physio now and hit the bell icon so you get live updates of when my videos are posted next. So let's see what are judgment skills. Judgment skills aren't about making the right decision all the time. Judgment skills are about making the decisions when they matter the most. If we look at the importance of judgment skills, they improve patient outcomes, there is workforce stability, and there is also an improvement in the leadership and organizational performance. Now, you would say, how do these all relate to each other? Well, if you have sound judgment skills, or if the leaders of any organization have strong judgment skills, they would be able to lead the organization better, which in turn improves your team performance, and team's performance is directly related to your organization's performance. Judgment skill is all about critical thinking, experience, intuition, and ethical considerations. So think of it as a holistic one where you have and apply all these things before you make a judgment on any decision, be it in patient care, be it in your staff environment, in your team meetings, or with your conflict, or with any other problem that arises at work. Okay, so it can be applied in several scenarios. So, patient outcomes. How is it going to improve patient outcomes? Because of your sound leadership principles and the way you approach every situation, your workforce is going to be happy. Your workforce and your team's morale is going to be high. If your team's morale is high, they would be efficient in treating patients when they go out and in any of the interactions that your team has, either with patients, stakeholders, or colleagues within your team. So that will improve workforce stability, and that workforce stability is directly related to improving patient outcomes. Happy team, happy colleagues, happy patients. So that's why focusing on judgment skills is important. Now let's see what are the components of judgment skill. Critical thinking. Okay, when it comes to critical thinking, what do you have to keep in mind? Number one, analyze the data. Always back yourself with data so you know where the decision is coming from. Next, question assumptions. Okay, wherever you find there are assumptions made by team members, made by senior leaders, made by junior team members or patients, always, or even your own decision, always question assumptions. Do not go. This is in line with problem solving. So, if you have been in my previous video and if you watched it properly, you would realize that with problem solving, we just don't rely on your assumptions. That is called as judgment. Okay, that's why the more you question any sort of assumption, okay, you will be good at it. Now, what is analyzing data? What does that do to questioning assumptions? You analyze the data and you have assumptions on one side and data on the other side. You would be able to correlate that data with the assumptions that have been presented in that particular situation. Data gives you facts, whereas sometimes people's opinions and your own opinion could be an assumption based on something. That's why it's very important for you to balance data, performance, and assumptions at the same time. Now, evaluating risks. What do we mean by evaluating risk? Okay, whenever there is a problem, you analyze data, and you as the leader would analyze and evaluate what is the risk profile of this problem. How much is it going to affect your team, performance of the contract or performance of your service, and patient outcomes at the same time? Okay, and whether it is going to jeopardize the service that you are responsible for. That's why evaluating risk is very important. Now, how do you evaluate risk? There are various outcome measures that you can use, but in simple terms, if you have basics of project management, or even your Microsoft Excel sheet, if you know how to use it, you have to use a risk risk matrix. Okay, risk matrix will give you an idea of what is the risk likely to be. So is it like what is the likelihood of the risk is what you will get from the risk profiling of any problem or any issue that you're handling at work. So this all systematically follows through. There are assumptions about anything that is occurring at work. Then you have data to back that up to see if the assumptions are going in the right direction. Evaluate risks to see if you're going to jeopardize the service and patient care. And finally, look at evidence that is available on that particular situation. What does evidence say? What has happened in the past? What have people tried in the past with similar situation, and did it help? If it didn't help, where did the previous team or the previous researchers went wrong? That's why critical thinking is a really important skill for any leader, not just healthcare. No matter where you go, you always need to understand these four basic things: analyze your data, question assumptions, don't go on opinions, always rely on facts, evaluate risks, and always make sure you are practicing evidence based. So you are using recent evidences that are available for that particular issue. So this is what makes up critical thinking. If we look at experience, I always think, and especially in the UK or in the NHS, experience has more weightage as compared to your qualifications. Qualifications where you gain the skills, but experience is where you apply those skills. That's why your lived experience is as important as your qualifications. I'm not undermining one or the other. I'm saying the more you practice something, the better you get at it. That's why your lived experience as a leader, as a team member, matters the most when it comes to judgment skills. Number two, what is that lived experience going to give you? Two things. It is going to help you analyze your past successes. Where did you win before? What was the success? What was the outcome measure you used? And how did you achieve that success? Okay. And this is again, I keep repeating myself. Reflection is the single most important thing that's important for every human being, not just healthcare professionals, not just technical professionals, even in your personal life. Take an example of you've gone out with your family somewhere and you didn't have a good experience in the past on doing that particular activity. What would you do in that case if it happens again to protect yourself and your family? That's exactly how you need to apply judgment skill to your workplace context, because it's when you work, you're spending more time at work. So you form a family without realizing that you are so close to each other. That's why your lived experience matters. Past successes, again, that will give you an idea of what has worked in the past. Looking at the failures is equally important, because when you look at failures, you would understand the lessons learned. Now, from my project management experience, I will tell you whenever a project comes to an end, you usually have a template at a tab at the end of the project on what were the successes and what were the lessons learned. And that is so important that whenever a next project is due to start within the same team, the team always refers back to past successes and lessons learned, and to see how we can implement and incorporate those lessons learned into the new project. That's why your experience comes into play when it comes to judgment skills. And one more thing, if you haven't been in a project management or a lead role yet, don't beat yourself down by that. Judgment skill is something that you can actually pull out your experiences from personal life to show how you react to a situation, how you solve your problems, and how you come to a decision. That is judgment skill. Okay. So after experience, let's move on to intuition. Let me fold all the notes. Intuition. Sorry, we've done experience. So intuition. Okay, intuition. What is intuition? Intuition is always your gut feeling. What do you think as a person, as a human being, as a leader in this situation? Okay, never undermine that. You as a leader would see the data, like you've looked while we've just seen in critical and experience, that we are going to analyze everything. We are going to put everything on the table before we come to a decision. But do not undermine your gut feeling. Look at the data, look at your experience, and pull out relevant things that matter in this situation the most. Okay, it might look like I'm talking a lot of common sense type of things, or a jargon that you might not even be able to follow, right? But when you are in a situation like that, if you apply these steps, this is all going to make sense. Okay, so judgment skills application is not just related or dependent on your work experience. You can apply this in your personal life. If you don't have experiences, use your example from personal life, from your university, from your college days, from your project group work, anything. But you have to make sure that you follow a step by step process when it comes to coming to a judgment. Okay, when you're trying to make an assumption and judgment for that particular situation. So data, look at data. Based on your experience, you have a gut feeling of whether this process is going to work. And gut feeling in psychological terms is also called as subconscious processing of information that's presented to you as a leader. Sometimes you are in high pressured environments where you have to take a decision within time limits, in a pressured environment where your gut feeling plays a role. You know as a leader that this is going to work and you are ready to take calculated risk. Okay, so that is intuition. Finally, ethical considerations. We work in healthcare and we cannot act. It's best practice to act within ethics of any practice. Okay, what are ethics? Integrity, fairness, and compassion. Marry all these together, bring them all together, and that forms your ethical considerations for that particular decision that you are making. So judgment in other ways, you've heard me using problem, you've heard me using issues, you've heard me using decision making. So judgment is a part that helps with problem solving, with coming to a decision, and to solve any problems or issues that arise at work. That's why I said these skills go hand in hand. You can't look at them in silos, right? So ethical considerations, right? What is integrity? Integrity is honesty and transparency. And this integrity is not only when somebody is watching you, this integrity applies to every single work situation, in your a work situation at work or in your personal life. So you act in the same way. Act what is in the best interest of people for that moment, and make sure you have your rationale behind why you acted in a way that you did. Next, and that's why reflection. Again, I'm talking about reflection. Reflect, reflect, reflect. I can't emphasize enough on reflection and what it does to your work life and in improving you. Fairness. Fairness is all about making sure everybody has been heard equally. Okay, whether it's a team, if it's a conflict between two teams, you'll have to be fair on each team to understand the context, data, experience, intuition, bring them all together and then form a judgment. And compassion. Compassion is all about uh, emotional intelligence and bringing those skills. I'm going to cover uh, another video on emotional intelligence and what are the four pillars of emotional intelligence. But before we do that, compassion is something that is very important for healthcare leaders because we are dealing with live people. We are not dealing with computers. We are not dealing with products or boxes. We are dealing with people who are going to be affected with our decision. Hence, your compassion when you take a decision is very important. I've seen so many meetings where people, when they're talking about numbers, it just diverts the whole discussion towards numbers. Numbers is analytical. So, you are healthcare leaders. You have to remember the numbers that you're discussing are lives. And hence, compassion plays a role when it comes to judgment skills. So, what have we learned? A quick recap. We have looked at the importance of judgment skill, which skills it goes hand in hand with. So, it goes hand in hand with your problem solving skills, your decision making skills, and your conflict resolution skills, right? So the importance, it improves patient outcomes, it improves staff morale, and it improves organizational performance because of your sound leadership. So the credit goes to you. And we've looked at the 4 steps before we come to a judgment: critical thinking, experience, intuition, and ethical considerations. The most important thing here to remember in the 4 components is you look at the data, you look at your experience, you go with your gut feeling, depending on the data that's presented to you, and finally, you ensure that you fit into the ethical considerations and your decision is in line with ethical considerations for that particular problem. So this is judgment skill. It looked like a whistle stop tour of this skill, but trust me, the more you practice these skills, the better you're going to be at them. Hence, look at problem solving video, look at my communication skills video, because every skill is interlinked. You cannot work in silo and just say, I'm going to work on judgment skill today. Judgment skill is going to require your communication, effective communication skills. It is going to require your organization skills. This is going to require your interpersonal skills. It's going to require problem solving, decision making, conflict resolution. So all these skills are interrelated. And I have covered all these skills in my videos on YouTube. If you want to take down notes, you can watching my videos. And this is going to be really helpful, especially when it comes to your interviews. When you're presenting yourself in an interview, no matter what skill you have been asked, you can touch on the basics of what is required in that skill and how you have demonstrated in past using the components that I have been discussing in my videos. This is my honest effort to help my physio colleagues and my fellow physios in improving their skills. Experience and reflection is what matters. So you gain experience and you reflect upon your experience. That is what is going to help you stand out from other healthcare disciplines and for yourself as a physiotherapist. This is your Priya Physio signing off for now. But if you haven't already come to any of my webinars yet, these are free webinars. Please click on the link below, which is in description, and register for my free webinar. This is the least you can do to take your first step towards your leadership journey. Leadership is always comes without a title. Leadership is how you can lead within the context of your role that you are in, and how you can improve and build depending on your vision and goals. This is what leadership is. And that's exactly what I talk in my free webinars. So do come on a free webinar. You can relax. It's a webinar mode. And in the meantime, if you haven't already joined my Physio Leaders community on Facebook, the link is in the description as well. So click on the link and join my Physio Leaders Club on Facebook, which is again a private community for like-minded physios where you can share your problems and engage with other fellow physios who could be in the same boat as you. This is your Priya Physio signing off for now. Bye. Take care.